Hello and welcome back to Newbie Debate. This is episode 2 in the installment of Introduction to Novice Debate. This one's going to be about logic. So, logic is pretty important to arguments. What is an argument? An argument is a set of statements, aka premises, that provide reasons as to why a conclusion is true. People often make the mistake that the claim/conclusion of an argument is the argument, but that's not true. Things like that is dumb, that is wrong, that is not right are not real arguments. Arguments make a claim and then prove that claim to be true using reasoning. So let's go ahead and break down. In debate, we're going to be using a lot of arguments, which is why it's important, I think, that we have this foundational understanding of logic. So let's go ahead and go over an example of an argument and break it down. So the first point of this argument is doctors make a lot of money. The B point is that people who make a lot of money can go on nice vacations. The C point is that I want to go on nice vacations. And so D, being a doctor is the only career that makes a lot of money that I would enjoy. Therefore, the claim or the conclusion is that I should become a doctor. So because doctors make a lot of money and people who make a lot of money can go on nice vacations, and I want to go on nice vacations, and being a doctor is the only career that makes a lot of money that I would enjoy, I should be a doctor. Because I want to go on nice vacations, I need a lot of money to go on nice vacations. Doctors make a lot of money, and I can only be a doctor and enjoy my career. So if I want to enjoy my career, I should become a doctor. Arguments in competitive debate aren't typically this worded out or this formal, but good arguments will achieve the same goal of not only providing a claim, but also providing reasons as to why that claim is true. You'll hear people in debate often refer to arguments as consisting of a claim, a warrant, and an impact. We've already covered the first two. Warrant is another term for the reasons that you give for why your claim is true. But what is an impact? So an impact is why an argument matters. So we can talk all day about here's the argument for why I should become a doctor. But the reason why we would make this argument is I need to figure out what career I want to have when I graduate, and that will help me dictate what I want to go to school to do. And so that's the impact. Like in the specific example that we used, the impact would be like I need to go to a specific school to become a doctor. And so the takeaway of the argument that we made is that I need to go to school to become a doctor. It's why coming to this conclusion matters. So that's an impact. It's the reason why the claim is relevant, or like what we should do about the claim. While these aren't necessarily official terms you will hear people use in debate, I like to classify arguments as being either micro-arguments or macro-arguments. A micro-argument are all the individual claims you make throughout the debate that are typically backed by evidence. A macro-argument are collections of micro-arguments that come together to make one large argument. For instance, take these micro-arguments. While the economy is fragile, it will be fine if we do nothing. The affirmative plan causes harm to the economy, which will lead to its collapse due to it being fragile. 3, economic collapse causes countries to go to war. 4, wars that spark due to economic collapse result in nuclear weapons and human extinction. So as you can see, these are all micro-arguments that can exist perfectly independently to one another. So if I wanted to say the economy is fragile, but it will be fine if we do nothing, I need to have some warrants as to why this micro-argument is true. And then this one is also a micro-argument. I need to prove why the affirmative plan would cause harm to the economy. and why that would cause an economic collapse. And you can go through each of these and do that individually, but then together, these make up a macro argument, which we'll get into the specific one. This is a disadvantage, is what we would call it. We'll talk about that later, but these four individual micro arguments can come together to make one large argument, similar to that argument we made about doctors earlier, because we can kind of break it down here. The economy is fragile, but if we do nothing, we would be fine. The affirmative plan harms the economy, which is fragile, which will cause it to collapse. Economic collapse causes war. War causes extinction. So we're going from A to B to C to D. If we had a conclusion here, it would be that we should not do the affirmative plan, because if we do nothing, the economy will be fine. But if we do the affirmative plan, we will cause economic collapse, which causes extinction through nuclear war. And so we're able to come to that conclusion because of this macro argument, but these all individually operate as their own kind of arguments. So yeah, if we put all these macro arguments together, doing the AF plan will cause economic collapse that otherwise would not have happened, which will result in human extinction via nuclear war. This is an example of a disadvantage that we'll talk about later. Conclusion. Understanding argumentation and logic is an invaluable skill in debate that a lot of people don't utilize. They have learned how things operate. Like one of their first lectures that they'll listen to is just a lecture about the disadvantage that tells them what a disadvantage is. But hopefully after listening to this lecture, we kind of understand the logic that goes behind these arguments so that we can use that as a foundation for building on some of the specific things that we're going to talk about. So claim, warrant, impact. If you can't identify these three things, then it's not an argument. So maybe when we're looking at arguments in the future, try to make sure that you're able to identify the claim, the warrant, and the impact to be able to make sure that you're on track and you're actually learning these things that we're going to be learning in future lectures rather than just like processing it, because it's really important that we build an actual understanding. Yeah, so thank you. Now, if you're a coach and you're watching these, it might be time to do some spar debates. You can just find some random topics online or just come up with them yourself and have kids split up. You can do it as a class together and have the room divide on sides based on if you think that the resolution, quote unquote, is true or false, and you can make those be just fun little topics that are not super serious. Or you can have people individually go break off and do into small groups and do the same thing. But I think that'll help now that people kind of understand how arguments are made, and then make arguments against each other. It's the best way to learn is through practice. So we will see you in the next installment. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.